This is SciByte, episode 54 for July 17th, 2012. Hi everyone, and welcome back to SciByte, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly science podcast. Every new episode comes out Wednesday mornings over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week is our host, Heather. Hey there, Heather.
Hey there, Chris.
Hey, Heather, happy science to you.
Happy science.
What are we talking about in today's show?
Today we're going to take a look at medical diagnostics on a disc, navigating fish, Pluto, the Lunar X Prize, spacecraft updates, and always take a peek back into history, including the Apollo 11 landing, and up in the sky this week.
Oh, well, very cool. Well, we got a lot to get to, so why don't we jump into the news? All right, what is our first news story?
All right, we've talked about some of these quick medical diagnostic things, that give you quick things. This is one that's actually looks like a CD player almost.
Oh, okay.
Or like one of the old GameCubes. So it's like a box and it has a CD that actually spins. So in like 15 minutes, you can get a comeback from just a drop of blood.
Oh.
And so essentially it's, you put the little drop of blood on these discs, which only, by the way, cost like a couple cents to make. They only cost a couple pennies to make just the disc part.
Very nice.
So it'll have Immuno Assays. I've probably really badly pronounced that. I'm sorry, everybody in the medical field. Essentially what it is you have a little immune cells that trigger off when it sees something. So when a little bit of this blood goes in there, it sees these protein markers, so it's able to indicate which one of these different ones. So it can do up to 64. So you have up to 64 of these in a little CD disc.
Jeez.
So then you put the little drop of blood in and it spreads out to everything. And you can get results from all these different things.
So you get a ton of data on this thing that's super cheap, and you don't have to take a ton of blood to get it, which is nice for me, the patient. Yeah.
A little bit of blood, 15 minutes, and the analysis is back. So, I go into the doctor's office and you have to give blood, then you have to wait a week for them to do it, and then it takes a couple days for it to get to the doctor, and then a couple days for him to be able to have a chance to call you.
I see. As it spins, it sort of shoots the fluid down these different test tubes almost, like these different conduits.
Yeah, like, they have these in chemistry and in anything where it, spins and it separates everything. So that's what it's doing. It's spinning into all these different into all the different, 64 different places.
And that flashing light just adds a really cool effect.
Probably indicating spinning glass, do not stick in hand.
There is blood and glass in here. You don't want any of this.
No, this is not a place your hand wants to be. Wait till it's done, and it's done spinning.
I just have bad news for you. And this just happens sometimes. Bad interface design happens. If something's flashing and spinning, I really want to touch it.
Of course. Now, somebody like a doctor or,
They might know better.
They might know better.
Yeah. Trained professionals and all.
Well, yeah. But, imagine you could go in, and they kind of know what's going on, so they take your blood, at the beginning of your visit, and then it takes a few minutes. They have to come and take your, maybe they do it when they take your blood pressure and stuff. Then they take a little drop of blood, go back, and in 15 minutes, they can say, oh, hey, this and this and this came up. Now, or everything's clean, and they can come back with all that kind of stuff.
Did you mention that it's named the Spin DX?
No, I hadn't yet, but yes, it is.
That's a great name.
It's awesome.
I don't, people in the chat room were asking, I saw Dream asked if it was battery powered. I don't see anything in the article that suggested it is. Did you see anything?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's, a wall plug. Of course, with any type of this thing like that, there are options they can go through and go through a couple different phases of this and maybe make it, battery operated or...
Oh, sure.
Small battery, big battery.
Actually, I'm watching the video. Oh, this is really hard to tell. But I don't see a power cord in the video. Look, there's no power cord on this thing.
Well, it could be in parts of the video, they're working on it. So sometimes when we're working on something, it may not...
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what parts have it spinning or whether there's something that they can kind of, a button that they can press inside to kind of spin it just a little.
It's hard to tell at this stage because it's not a production unit.
Yeah, there's not really that. But the fact that the discs only cost a couple pennies was really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could essentially manufacture these, this is the cardio discs. This is the, immune discs. So they can so your doctor can be like, all right, this is the one we need to test. You go in, somebody goes in for, a heart attack or something like that, then drop of blood comes right back. They can get all sorts of data about what's going on. Very simple, very quick. Another one of the things that they talked about was botulism. Now, it's pretty rare, only about, less than 150 cases reported in the U.S. Last year, but it's so lethal that it's kind of a worry. It's a worry that what happens if there's a breakout? What happens if, there's parts of the system that go, what if there was a bioterrorist?
So So you're thinking like something that's as cheap as this, it's going to be much easier to do it like some sort of mass deployment?
Yeah, so they've said this is part of it. They've actually talked about this in an article about it, saying, hey, this is, 15 minutes and we can get analysis on anybody about... So anywhere, there's a breakout of something, a flu or anything like that, and you have the emergency room inundated with everybody that has allergies to sniffles to something more serious. And so, you can put drops of blood, and in 15 minutes you can say, all right, these are obvious allergy people, go back home and take your Claritin, or whatever you take. And these are the people that are kind of worrisome. So, 15 minutes and you can say, all right, these are the people that go over here, everyone else can go home.
Yeah. It's there's interesting, too, just while you're still talking about the cost and how it's easy to deploy. Yeah. There's an interview in the phys.org article here, phys.org, whatever you pronounce it, and he says that food processing plants are looking for something that can be integrated into their assembly lines. And so their devices being cheap and fast would be, and also another kind of important part, simple to operate. So there's not like a big training curve to get their, the food processing plant employees to use it. Yeah.
So, you have the big process, in that kind of a system. Then maybe you have, samples going every so often at one part of the plant.
Yeah.
And then if something triggers, then you have to figure out where in the line there was contamination.
But wouldn't it be great to catch it there before it even ships?
Yeah. So, 15 minutes, one end of the production to the other, and they know.
Yeah.
So, do it you can have it in batches or, or a straight line, and you have the speed of this and the ability to analyze so many different pieces just so easily has a lot of potential there. And, you could see in the video that, it is a unit, it looks production ready, sort of. It looks very...
Yeah, definitely the demos you see that we watched,
it's got covers and things, and so it's, it's a little bit past the real R&D stage. The duct tape and, MacGyvering it.
No, they're past the we're getting ready to start manufacturing. We want to get people excited. That's where they're at now. They're at that stage. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about the fact that it looks so close, and I can't wait to see how quickly it can deploy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's neat. Yeah. Huh. And you think about it too, like things like this could become commonplace by the time my son and my daughter are my age, where like some things we struggle with now could be completely non-issues because they could be caught so much early in the chain of goods or whatever it is. Or things can be identified so much faster by medical doctors. It's just, boy, this could be... You can have, there's white blood cell counts and protein markers and all these kind of things, and there's a lot of different, what's going on. And there's this one, there was the one we talked about a few weeks, maybe a month or so back, where it's, you blow in the box, and then it lights up saying, hey, we've triggered something. Right. So there's all these small, portable, quick things that are coming. That's kind of exciting, that you're like, wow. I wonder, too, like they say the SpinDx results can be delivered to the physician's computer in 15 minutes. I would like to know more information about like how that's transmitted, because if this is just going out there, but if you could have these things working in some sort of, assuming all of the patient's medical data was totally protected, all HIPAA compliant, if you could have these things sort of develop databases about the things they find so they could identify things even quicker, so they could almost, I mean, that would be so neat. Or, I mean, just being able to deliver the results directly to the doctor, takes out a layer of human error where maybe they give the wrong results to the wrong, clipboard. Having just that is nice, but really, that seems like, okay, that's step one, but step two is something maybe much bigger than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, bringing in that case, it reminds me, what about rural locations or, third world, second world type places where you can get the results there and then you can ship them to somebody by, electronically, to a doctor wherever possibly. And then they can look at the results and kind of give a more detailed analysis about what's going on.
Yeah. So what do you think, Heather? When do you think we'll start seeing these?
Oh, goodness only knows.
You don't have a guess? I'd say...
Oh, anything medical, I never have a guess.
I say when you see something like this, though, it's actually going to be at least something we end up seeing.
Well, yeah, we'll see it in our lifetime.
Yeah, I'll make that bet, too.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on that one?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, why don't we take a quick second and just mention really quickly, we actually did bring this up recently, but of course everyone out there knows that the shows that don't have main sponsors in them, like a GoDaddy or a FreshBooks or a Good Old Games, then that means it's sponsored by the audience. And one way to do that is through our affiliate programs. We have links at the bottom of Jupiter Broadcasting. You can click before you shop. But I wanted to make a suggestion, because I think I talked about this last week, right, Heather? But the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 Blu-ray ships on July 24th. All right, so we're recording this on the 17th, so that means next Tuesday it ships. And this, you guys, I got the teaser one where they had like 3 episodes on there. It looks so good. But maybe you're not a Trekkie. Maybe you're more of a gamer. So we'll give you another Amazon pick that, by the way, if you pick these up, you help fund the show. Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 pre-order is in effect right now. And Heather, it's a good reason to pre-order. Why?
Yeah, this if you pre-order, you get access to the beta weekends, and this weekend is the last beta weekend. You also get the early access. That's 3 days for this one.
Early access is nice because you get maybe a little bit of an edge. I don't know.
Well, you have some time to kind of get the character names or, make your character look exactly how you want, kind of run around the world, get an idea.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So Guild Wars 2, man, is the buzz. Boy, is there a lot of buzz on Guild Wars 2.
Oh, yes.
It's like $60 if you pre-order, or they even have a collector's edition, $150. Holy cow. That's got to be if you're hardcore. But me, if I have any extra pennies, I'm spending on Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 Blu-ray, because I saw the thing I was the most surprised about, it wasn't just that I'm a huge geek and I got goosebumps when I saw the Enterprise in Blu-ray, which I totally was... Mr. Skeptical Pants didn't think I was going to be impressed by at all. I was like, oh, come on. I've seen CG redone before. Come on. I couldn't believe it. Not only did I get goosebumps, but the sound, the audio is so much better. The audio is so much better. It's a treat. So anyways, links to those will be in the show notes. If you want to grab those to support the show, of course, that would be rocking. We appreciate it. All right, Heather, with all of that out of the way, let's move on to the news bite. Fish and magnetic fields.
That is right.
What is this about?
Okay, rainbow trout. These are the ones, they go way far away. They can spend 3 years going out to sea, and then they can travel up to 186 miles, coming back to the exact location where they spawned.
I spent many years of my childhood growing up on a lake that was very heavily populated with rainbow trout.
Okay.
They're beautiful.
Oh, yeah. So there's some ideas, that they can use eyesight and smell to get back to where they wanted to go, but also the Earth's magnetic fields.
No way.
Yeah, so they've kind of thought about this for a while, but now scientists have actually isolated the magnetic cells in the fish that respond to magnetic fields.
So the fish have like something in their actual cells that is magnetic?
Yes, that can tell, like a compass, they can tell which way is north.
Like, and it almost at a cellular level aligns their whole body. That way it pulls them.
Not the whole body. Huh. Like I was saying, maybe there's a little you have your car and you have a little compass on the car.
Yeah, okay.
It's just kind of telling you which direction.
It's not all cells. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of cells. So they were able to pull some of them out that they thought, put it in a little dish, rotate it in magnetic field, and they were actually able to see certain cells line up with that. So they've pulled those out for further study. But what's interesting is that they were 100 times more sensitive than they thought they were going to be.
I'm literally, I have no words. I am totally verklempt by this. This is incredible.
So the idea is they could have, to be able to detect such small difference in the magnetic field that it could tell really detailed information of where they are. I mean, down to latitude, longitude.
You are screwing with me right now.
No, I am totally not.
These fish at a cellular level can get as accurate as we can get with latitude and longitude. I'm all just messed up now. Longitude and latitude. This is
they have less chance of getting lost than you and me.
Wow.
Because
what really blows me away about this, not that this doesn't make incredible sense and it's kind of amazing how it works, but I'm just trying to think of the evolutionary process that led to the fish having this and how that worked, because what an incredible ability for them to be able to have, and how essential it is to the exact way that they operate. It's really, they're pretty lucky that they got that.
Rainbow trout are the way they were made in this way, so that it's interesting that the amount of sensitivity that they have, that they were given, is just very. I found it really interesting that down to the fact that they could get, so close, and it would make more sense because they can get so far away and come back, and so they can get down to the latitude, longitude, and then maybe they have excellent eyesight and smell. They can kind of get closer into where they want to be.
I actually thought they always just did it with that.
Well, there have been some ideas that they used magnetic fields, but now they've actually been able to isolate those cells.
Now let's get some cross-pollination of that DNA into future humans, so that way humans have this ability.
No.
No? Oh.
No.
Cool. I'd love to. No. Imagine what a great sense of direction you'd have.
Don't mess with life.
All right.
Why are you going to poke humans?
I'll take the magnetic ability from the fish, and I'll take... No? Oh, okay.
No.
I thought maybe I was going to get like a menu and just choose.
No.
Oh. Well, that makes an aquarium. I wonder if other fish have this. Do you know if they looked? If they just only checked here?
They've only checked here so far, but there's an idea that there are, birds and various things that are able to, follow specific treks and go back to specific places. So the idea is that maybe multiple species were given this ability, and so they're kind of, once they have this, now they're going to look in other places for it.
Yeah. Very cool. And just another way that you think you know everything about things, like some subjects, like really, like rainbow fish. No. I'm like, what is she going to tell me about rainbow fish? I don't know.
Rainbow trout.
Rainbow trout.
They make it back where they make it back to their nursery, but now, they use sights and smells and magnetic fields.
I mean, I can't even count how many rainbow trout I've probably. I mean, I can cook a good trout. That's all I'm saying. What are your thoughts on that one?
No, I think not.
All right. Well, why don't we talk a little plutonium system? What is this? Plutonium system grows.
Plutonium system. Pluto.
Oh, Pluto. I misread it. A little tiny.
That's okay. That's okay.
So this sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Got another member of the club.
Yep. Almost a year to the day after Hubble spotted Pluto's fourth moon, it's now discovered a fifth moon.
Huh.
It's about half as bright as the last one discovered. They have, 5 different occasions that they were actually able to take these images. There's some info in the show notes about, specific sizes of these, and how long across they are when they were discovered. But it seems cool until you remember we have the New Horizons spacecraft heading to Pluto. And some people go, hey, cool, another thing to look at. No, it just indicates that the system is more and more complex. So now the New Horizons mission team is working with Hubble because they have to find a safe way to navigate through this system.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to look as closely as they can. You know, the more and more of these they find, they're like, okay, there's more stuff than we want to have to deal with flying through it. So let's keep analyzing, keep trying to, note down all the orbits of this so we can kind of tweak. They're far enough away that they can kind of tweak the orbit, they can tweak the spacecraft's approach through the system and how that's going to happen and try to make it as safe as possible.
A little more crowded than they expected. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Pluto's rocking it for not being a planet. I mean, really.
It's a dwarf planet.
In just about every way possible.
Mm-hmm.
We just keep hearing about more cool stuff that Pluto's got going. I mean,
well, we've got a spacecraft heading there.
I mean, in my opinion, right now,
there's a lot of stuff that we're looking at.
I just think for our solar system, in a lot of ways, Pluto's doing more for us than Venus does, or really, I mean, Uranus doesn't do anything for us. Pluto, I just blows me away.
Pluto's not doing anything except hanging around.
No, it's getting this new attention. It's got a spacecraft on its way. I mean,
like I said, get the spacecraft heading out there, so you get a lot of attention about what's going on.
It's all right. It's just I just feel bad for Pluto. All right. Well, why don't we talk? Unless you're not any other thoughts on that one?
No, it's okay.
All right. Okay. So the Lunar X Prize. I noticed you have an entry in the show notes for this one. Tell me about this.
Yeah, the Google Lunar X Prize. Everyone's talking about, the X Prize itself, but there's actually a Lunar X Prize as well.
Okay.
$30 million international challenge. Land a robot.
$30 million.
$30 million. Land a robot on the moon. Travel at least 16,000 feet. Send data, send images back to the Earth. First place gets $20 million, and then there's various other prizes for various accomplishments. The new news about this is that an engineering director for the Google Books project, Jimmy Crawford, has now signed on with one of the major players in this, the Moon Express. So he's going to serve as a chief technology officer for this
mission, whatever you want to call
for the mission for the Moon Express project.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it'll go till all prizes are claimed, or the end of 2015, whatever happens first.
Oh, really? So, boy, have you heard anything?
Getting closer. Quite a few of these are kind of aiming up and getting closer and closer. So I will be surprised if we see anything before 2013. Most likely it'll be 2014, 2015 that we see this stuff happening. I mean, actively launching and looking at this stuff.
Gosh, this would be neat.
Oh, yeah. It'd be, another one of these at the private industry. We've got it, the ability to deliver stuff to the space station now. SpaceX, we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, about other kind of stuff they're doing. So all this kind of private industry stuff moving forward is incredibly interesting to me.
And hopefully will become a sustainable way to get out there. That's really, I think that's maybe the most important end goal I could think is maybe they can do it where the government really hasn't so much, at least, in terms of ways that are really going to make it more approachable for average people.
As I saw one project that was trying to get a little billing, possibly with average Joe or Jane, trying to get them to give a little money by saying, hey, donate this amount and we will send a little bit of your DNA to the moon.
Sounds like a Kickstarter.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, you never know. Maybe we'll see that on Kickstarter soon. Uh-oh, Heather.
Uh-oh.
I've got a red light flashing right here on my board. Should I hit it? You ready?
Okay.
Oh, of course. It's the Spacecraft update. Oh, SciByte computer. What is the first story in the Spacecraft update today?
Alrighty. The Expedition 32 crew up on the space station has gotten 3 new veteran space travelers. We landed a few of them. I believe we talked about it last week or the week before. They've got 3 new astronauts that came up. All 3 of them have been in space before. NASA astronaut, a Russian cosmonaut, and a Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency space flyer. These people have done, one of them has done 3rd trips, a couple of long missions. The Japanese astronaut was part of delivering the Kibo laboratory module on the International Space Station. There's a really large science station there that was there. The female astronaut was actually still holds the world's record for most spacewalks by a woman and the most time in space by a woman.
Oh, that's neat. So you got some real vets up there.
Yep, some real vets, but a couple more. We've rounded back out the crew to 6 again.
I was giggling because if you're watching the enhanced version of this show, the guy in the middle has just the most outrageous hair, and I realized how great my hair potential could be if I ever got a chance to be in weight, 0G.
Yeah, because it'd still look good.
It would be, but I think, but it could float a little bit, like it'd kind of open up. I think it'd open up. I really like that guy's
You get some volume.
Yeah, I really like that guy's hair. And I just realized it's just gravity that's holding my hair down. That's all. Just gravity holding it down.
Yeah, some of the hair you have to kind of tie up or it gets a little Einstein-y.
They can't help it. It's kind of adorable. All right, well, we got another spacecraft here we need to do a little update on, don't we?
We do. Dragon. SpaceX has delivered to the space station now, and now they're kind of moving forward. They have a manned version that's sort of the next step.
Oh, okay.
And they've actually, NASA announced that they've passed a key design review. So it's a major step closer to being able to get it approved by NASA.
Mm.
So they gave them all the details.
They looked at all the plans and said, okay, that looks sound.
Said, all right, this is the docking capabilities, the living arrangements, all the requirements for ground landings, because, like I said, this thing lands again. So, how would it land with astronauts?
I like it. So they call it Dragon. Am I getting this right? They call it Dragon Crew?
Yeah, the Dragon Crew. It's going to be they've also have launch abort systems. So any emergencies happen at various locations. So it's all of these type of things. Yep, they've got it so that what happens if something happens during liftoff? What happens if something happens on your way to orbit or in orbit on the way back home? There's all these contingencies you have to work through. And so they've got all these, all these systems laid out, and they're kind of going through one step at a time, being able to get design reviews from NASA, and they've now reached a pretty major one. So
that is really cool. Look at these guys go, Heather.
I know.
They're just not missing a beat. They just, they got up there, they did their thing, they docked, and you thought, okay, they're going to be quiet for a while, but nope, they're still rocking it. It's just sort of a stepping stone on the way. They have images of going all the way to Mars. They've talked about it. They're like, yeah, they have, images online about what it would look like. And it's the little dragon. It's got little feet, so it's like a little landing stanchions. Huh. So it's like, look, we're going to land. It's all going to be cool. And you're all going to be jealous. Well, and more power to them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm ready to be jealous, though. I'm ready.
Oh, yes.
I'm okay with that. That's a jealous I'm ready for.
That's okay.
Should we jump in the time machine?
Let's jump.
All right, get in here and close the door. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
It's locked.
Oh, a nice, pleasant ride. Not so bad. In fact, it feels pretty hip right now, man. I feel like I want a boogie because it's 1969, July 21st, 43 years ago.
That is right. One small step for man. That is right. This week is the anniversary of the Apollo 11 astronauts landing on the surface of the moon.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. What? How many years? 43, was it? Or
43 years. 43. So they launched on the 16th, so that was yesterday, the day before we filmed this.
Wow.
And then they landed on the moon on the 20th. Later that day, they were able to step onto the surface, and then they were only on the surface of the moon. They were able to hang out outside the spacecraft for 2.5 hours.
That seems like such a ripoff, but, I understand.
They were on the surface of the moon for less than a day. But there are so many things about this that were incredibly crazy. I mean, a lot of people know that, they always say, hey, they landed with only 20 seconds of fuel left.
Yeah.
And they did. One of the reasons, well, there's a whole bunch of different reasons, but when they separated from the orbiter, poor Michael Collins was sitting in the the orbiter, just orbiting the moon.
I know. Jeez, how lonely.
Incredibly lonely. On a side note, he was so afraid. He said his biggest fear of the whole thing was that he would have to come back alone.
Oh, yeah.
Going there, in the end, they've admitted that they kind of gave themselves a 50-50 chance of coming back.
Oh, absolutely. But you, of course, would take that chance. But
yeah. Nixon had speeches ready for if something happened.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's like, here's the everything worked well speech. Here's the this happened not well speech. And
it was very heroic, very, travelers, travelers always risk this kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, if you think about it, Michael Collins, he was on the backside of the moon, no contact with humanity at all for each orbit on the backside of the moon.
That would almost seem like it could potentially be a life-changing event. Yeah.
He was sitting there and he's like, imagine you have no contact with any other human being in the entire universe.
It's dark.
And it's dark. Well, there's sunlight shining in.
Oh, I thought you meant, okay, I thought you meant he went to the dark.
I call it's the dark side of the moon, quote unquote, because it's the back half of the moon.
Right, okay.
That we never see. We always see one side.
Right.
So he's orbiting the moon. And at that point, he is the farthest human being away from the Earth.
Yeah.
Because he's orbiting around the moon, he became...
And he can't radio back, right? Because the moon's blocking the signal.
Yeah, so he was able to contact during part of each orbit.
Yeah.
But not for the other half. And, look at your cell phone. Everybody look at your cell phone? There's more computing power there than got us to the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Than was in the entire lunar module. And, it's just crazy because... when they went out to, walk on the surface of the moon, it wasn't quite one small step. He actually had to leap like 3.5 feet.
Right. I'll back that up because I do have a little clip of that here. Yeah, he had to take a bit of a jump, didn't he?
Yeah, he had to take a bit of a jump to get down. Well, they weren't sure about how dusty the surface of the moon was, so they had really long feet just in case it was going to sink into the dust, which they thought it would. So he kind of stood. There's the end of the ladder, and he's like, okay. Here we go. Whee!
Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's collapsed too far. He's checking out how far it's indented.
So, one medium leap for a man, but yeah, a small step in comparison. You're like, all right, woo! Huh. But, so he gets out, and he's doing it, and then, Buzz Aldrin gets out. And he actually had to take very much care not to close the door because there was no external handle.
You're kidding me.
There was not a single handle on the outside. So he's getting out. He's being really careful, just kind of letting the door sit ajar.
Why did they not have a handle? Would it catch on something or what?
Catch on something. It's reentry and there's a whole bunch of different things going on, but they didn't have a handle on the outside.
So their cabin must have sat depressurized while they were out and about.
Yep. Once they hopped into there, that was it. They were in their spacesuits.
Because you could see the movie scene where they're rushing back to the cabin because there's a leak in a suit and they jump in, they close the door, and they can breathe. But no, it's not going to happen. Not in real life.
Not quite that way. I think they may have had an ability to repressurize, but when they separated from the orbiter, there wasn't quite the proper deep pressurization as there should have been, and that blew their landing off about 4 miles. Just there. So when they were coming down, they only had 20 seconds of fuel left because Neil Armstrong was piloting it down. He saw a boulder field where they were going to end up landing. And so he kept trying to keep them aloft long enough to get into a flatter plane so that he felt more comfortable with being able to set down.
The best thing about going back now would be much better quality pictures.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Unfortunately, the images that were broadcast to the U.S. were actually the direct line-of-sight images were sent to one of the dishes in Australia. And then they had a camera pointed at their screen, and that got sent to the U.S.
Yep.
And some people may have heard the original films were actually written over.
So what we have is the recording from the computer pointed, or from the
camera pointed at a screen.
At a screen. Mm-hmm.
So that is very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But less people have heard about. They were, shuffling around in the lander, and Buzz Aldrin actually bumped into something, ended up knocking free a circuit breaker. And they had to use a felt tip pen to push it back in.
What?
And this was part of the launch system. They would not have been able to take off from the moon without a felt tip pen. A felt tip pen saved these guys. I am dead serious.
You got to have very mission critical tools for jobs like this, Heather.
You have to have people with very much imagination to be able to deal with these things.
Yeah.
And, things they never thought they would have to deal with. They thought it was going to be really soft surface, but it wasn't. Obviously, it had dust,
mm-hmm.
but the dust itself is like tiny bits of glass because of the way it is. There's so many impacts over the course of the moon's lifetime that it's like tiny bits of glass. So they had these, where they had some dust, that they packaged up in sealed containers, and it just ripped through the ceiling. You see them walking around, and any of the clips of any of the astronauts, not too long after they're walking, they're just covered in gray dust.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And the, breathing it, not so good either. They're kind of looking at tiny bits of glass. They've been looking at monitoring the health of those astronauts. But, they kind of indicated, they're like, hey, it smells like gunpowder.
Really?
Well, that's how they kind of talked about it, how it kind of smelled. But it, so it was just breathing that was a little bit kind of quasi-dangerous. And, that it went through all the seals that they had because they couldn't seal against that. It just sliced that all up.
Wow.
And, when they first landed, I was like, Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Right.
That was the first time Neil Armstrong had ever used Tranquility Base. In all of the practice runs, in everything, it was the Eagle.
Eagle Base?
It was the Eagle Lander.
Oh, okay. So why did it change?
He changed it. I've never seen an accurate description about why he said. He is very much a recluse. He's not really done much of anything in the public. Very rarely will he do it. I Twittered a while back about how Neil Armstrong actually gave an interview to an Australian media associate, I believe. Mm-hmm. Buzz Aldrin is out a lot. Michael Collins goes out sometimes, but Neil Armstrong very rarely. So I'm not quite sure. There may be an explanation that he's given, but I'm not quite sure. I don't know it.
Wasn't it something about...
They landed in the Tranquility Basin.
Yeah.
That's where they landed. It was that. So that's a good possibility that's why. It's just that he'd never used that. So you kind of hear, Tranquility Base here, the Eagle has landed. And there's a few seconds of silence. And then Vision goes like, yeah, it's good to hear from you, Tranquility Base. There's a lot of people that aren't turning blue anymore. And the reason they paused, part of it was because they were all kind of shocked. They're like,
did he just change it?
He just changed it. And then they kind of like,
do you know how hard we work on these names, Buzz?
Like, Neil, what are you doing? We're happy you got there alive, but what are you doing?
Well, maybe he just figured it needed a new name since it had a new landing spot.
Maybe so.
Well, when you are Buzz Aldrin, you can do that.
Well, that was Neil Armstrong.
Oh, Neil Armstrong. Yeah. Okay, you're Neil Armstrong. You can do that.
Yeah, when you're one of the first two guys on the moon, you can do what you want, kind of.
Yep, absolutely. Wow, so that was 43 years ago.
Yep, they
what
left
a week
some
that
stuff
must have been.
Oh yeah, they left some stuff on the surface of the moon too. They weren't there too long, but they left a patch from Apollo 1 where they had a couple of astronauts lost. They had some medals commemorating some Soviet cosmonauts that were lost, including Yuri Gagarin. Had goodwill messages from 73 world leaders, a pin that had with a little olive branch, gold pin and olive branch for symbols of peace. What a lot of people don't realize is when they came back, they landed on, they splashed down, and they went straight into quarantine.
Yeah.
They spent 3 weeks in a little mobile bubble. I mean, Richard Nixon comes and tries to greet them, and it's like a little silver trailer that kind of opened the curtains. He's like, "Hi, good job," and they're like waving out from a little window.
I've seen that photo. Yeah, or something.
It's because they really weren't sure about if there were going to be any germs or something else going on. Mm-hmm. They're like, all right, we're really not sure. So a couple of the Apollo missions actually had to spend a couple weeks in quarantine before they were allowed to interact with anybody.
Yeah, but then they simmered down about that, right?
Well, yeah, then they kind of realized. And then it took a couple, and they're like, all right, it looks pretty clear. The rest of you guys are getting out a little bit lucky.
And they kind of were like, yeah, I mean, what really could live out there?
Well, it took them a little bit to make sure. I think they would rather be sure.
Oh, you have a video of oh my gosh. Folks, you got to check out the show notes Heather did for this one. This is a treat. Heather has a ton of classic footage, and here's the shot of Nixon waving to the guys in the trailer.
I love finding that clip. It's like they had little curtains, and they're just like, "Hunk, hunk. Oh, hi."
Yeah.
Wave.
Oh my gosh, that's so great.
There's so many great
they actually had a little trouble getting the curtain open at first.
They're like, which way? Okay, there we go.
Yep.
They're like, all right, let's make sure that we're not blocking off the president. Make sure it's nice, clear view.
Well, you have some great links for this. I'm going to check these out. You have the launch, the landing on the moon, the landing back on Earth in here. Just some really good stuff. Plus an image gallery. Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there in the show notes for pictures and all sorts of pretties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, geez. Well, that was a great looking back. I got to say, anything else before we go on?
Always bring a felt tip pen to the moon.
There you go. That's the SciByte pro tip of the week. All right, then. Well, let me retune the SciByte computer so we can look up into the sky.
Alrighty. This week is not going to be a big week, but about an hour before sunrise, you're going to have Jupiter and Venus. They're a little bit higher in the eastern sky than they have been. Venus is the brighter of the two. Jupiter is the higher in the sky. Really low on the horizon in the east, you'll see a red object. It is actually a red giant star called Betelgeuse. So, yeah, Jupiter and Venus up high, down low, not Mars, but it's a red giant star, Betelgeuse, in the constellation of Orion.
Not bad.
That's going to start rising soon.
So, again, that red dot won't be Mars.
Nope, not Mars. It is a star.
Yeah, that's a pretty good star, I got to say.
Yep.
Out of the star choices, I like that one. All right, well, that's our whole show, isn't it?
I think so.
Good show, Heather. Thank you very much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode of SciByte. I mentioned at the top of the show that SciByte comes out Wednesday mornings over at Jupiter Broadcasting, but we're also live Tuesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Pacific over at jblive.tv. And, of course, we always encourage you to visit the show notes, take advantage of some of the great links and extra notes that Heather's put in there. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of SciByte. We'll see you right back here next week.